जो दलितों को मिलता है, जो आदिवासियों को मिलता है, जो ओबीसी को मिलता है, उसमें से कोई कुछ नहीं ले सकता है। ये अतिरिक्त 10% दे करके हम सबको न्याय देने की दिशा में काम किया।
Will please say aye. Those against will please say no.
Ayes 323, noes 3. The bill as amended is passed by the requisite majority.
After Lok Sabha on Tuesday, the Rajya Sabha on Wednesday passed the 124th Constitutional Amendment Bill, paving way for 10% reservation for the economically weaker sections of the society among the open category or the general category, which includes Jats, Brahmins, Baniyas, Christians, Sikhs, so on and so forth. This bill primarily inserts two new clauses in the Constitution of India, that is, one to Article 15, which is Article 15 subclause 6, and one to Article 16, which is Article 16 subclause 6.
But what will this amendment really deliver?
First, maximum 10% of reservation would be given for the open categories, economically weaker sections of the society for admissions into higher educational institutions, which also includes private institutes, whether aided or unaided by the state. A maximum of 10% of the state jobs will also be reserved for the poor. However, this reservation is only limited to initial appointment. This maximum 10% reservation will be in addition to the existing reservation cap of 50%.
5,75,000 मेरे, 2,50,000 मेरे फादर के। क्या मैं भी इसके अंदर हूँ?
मेरे पास 4.5 एकड़ के खेत हैं। क्या मैं भी रिजर्वेशन क्लेम कर सकता हूँ?
Well, to break the bubble, economically weaker sections of the society has not been defined in the 124th Constitutional Amendment Bill.
यार पर मैं समझा नहीं. What was the need for this reservation?
Well, that's precisely because the government believes and has stated in the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha also that the poor citizens who are not under SC, ST or OBC are unable to compete with those who are claiming the benefits of the reservation, and hence the need for a new reservation based on economic criteria.
But this is not the first time that something like this has happened. Something similar was also launched during PV Narasimha Rao government in 1990. What happened to that?
This notice was struck down by a 9-judge bench verdict in 1992, which is famously known as the Indra Shani versus Union of India verdict.
But doesn't this bill go against the Indra Shani verdict?
Well, the government, through Union Finance Minister Arun Jaitley in Lok Sabha, reasoned it out, saying that the earlier attempts by state and the central governments to give similar reservations was struck down by the courts because there was no source of power from the Constitution of India, and hence the government of India is now bringing in the 124th Constitutional Amendment Bill.
So it's a smart move. इसकी वजह से judicial scrutiny तो हो ही नहीं सकती ना.
That's right. But can this be challenged in the courts?
Certainly, this amendment can be challenged in the court because Supreme Court is the final arbiter to decide which legislation is valid and which legislation is not. For instance, interestingly, the Modi regime started on the note of passing the NJAC Constitutional Amendment Bill, which granted government a say in the appointment of judges. But as we all know, in 2016, that legislation was struck down. And again, Modi regime is ending its tenure with yet another controversial constitutional amendment bill, which has a fear of being struck down.
So I belong to the SC category. I already have 50% reservation. So ये जो नया 10% है, ये अलग है या उसमें ही है?
The government reasons that this 50% cap is only for scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and socially and educationally backward classes. And economic criteria, being a completely new category in itself, will not violate the 50% ceiling. So in simple words, what the government says is the 50% remains intact and the 10% being given is apart from the 50%. That takes it to total 60% in cases where states decide to give a maximum of 10% reservations to the economically weaker sections of the society among the upper castes.
So Indra Shani I understand, but on what other grounds can this reservation bill be challenged in the court?
The economic criteria for granting reservation is something which does not find mention in the Constitution. A very important point. For reservation, there was a key criteria of inadequacy of representation in services. Sadly, the socially advanced classes, or as we are calling the economically weaker section in the upper caste, are not the inadequately represented in services. It's still the SC, STs and OBCs who has suffered the wrath and million of years of oppression.
Why 10%? What about the stats? What about the caste census?
In 2011, there was a caste census, but that caste census was never made public. The Samajwadi Party clearly stated in the Lok Sabha that such caste census must be made public in the floor of the House because the government fears that the OBC representation has increased to 65% and hence the reservations will also have to match the share of the population of the OBCs in the country. And likewise, without a caste census or without an empirical evidence, introducing a maximum 10% reservation for the EWS does not find any basis. There was a 50% reservations for the SC, ST, OBC till yesterday, and now it would be a 40% available reservation for the open category. If we also believe what the government sources are saying, that 8 lakh per annum annual income is the basis for determining the economic criteria to be eligible for this 10% reservation, then to just sum it up, my neighbor who has an annual income of 1.2 lakh per annum and his father is an auto rickshaw puller, he will also apply under this 10% category. Whereas my other neighbor, whose father is an engineer in a corporate sector and has an annual income of 7.9 lakh per annum, and he is the only son studying in an English convent school, will also apply under this category. Mr. Arun Jaitley said that this government is trying to give equality of opportunity through affirmative action. One wonders if at all this constitutional amendment bill will bring about the equality of opportunity that the government is targeting at.